destroy finally breaks. I find it.
stand on the edge of a new tomorrow. A brighter future. A secure future for one man.
Nothing is secure within the reality of in the darkest part of your mind, there is untold power. Means to an end.
My hand again, little mouse. So, you've chosen to side with chaos. This is my world, and you shall obey my order. Imperfect. Behold the face of your...
Let me help you.
The horror must be stopped. Obstacle destroyed.
Twin
Life is so brutal.
We need to close this.
Cannot lose them.
They lied to you, Father. I'm your true enemy.
To save the future.
Life is suffering.
Come to me.
Stop. Twin terror.
Irrelevant.
Alright then, let's go over my PoB. There's not that much variation between other Storm Burst Totem builds. Just some slight deviations here and there. So over here we are going for some extra life here, some extra damage, some crit damage. Do note that I do need the +10 strength, because if I don't, well, I don't have enough for my item, so that's a bit of an issue I still have to resolve. But you know, I still have 2 skill points, so maybe I'll just go over here. I don't really have anything else that I want, so this is sort of my final build, as you will, if you will. Okay, so here's more spell crit. We've got some life and mana over here, some more crit. I chose for 5% damage from hits taken from your nearest totem life. During boss fights, I usually have around 10 to 12 totems up, so you know, that's still a bit of a more defensive layer, which is nice. You could choose for let's see, for taunt, for example, or for action speed, which is if they're chilled. You know, it helps, but overall I think the 5% of damage from hits taken by your totems is just a better option. Moving on, over here we have some lightning damage. This is Inner Conviction from our Timeless Jewel. I chose for the non-curse aura per 10 devotion and 4% increased totem damage. You could go for channeling skills, have 4% more increased damage. There's another one that offers 4%, I think 4% elemental damage, if I'm not mistaken. They all have the same damage output basically, but I chose to have the non-curse aura. It's about 9%, yeah, about 9% increase. It's not much, but it's a good thing. A bit more defensive layers, I guess. Alright, over here we're gonna skip a bit and we're gonna move over here. There's a jewel that I have. Let's see, where is it? Over here. So this one, the Impossible Escape with Chaos Inoculation, and the reason for that is quite simple. This one, I can get an additional curse, so in total we have 3 curses, 2 from this one and 1 from myself, and 1 my animated guardian has 1 as well, which I'll explain later in the item section. Then over here we have some extra chaos damage, which is useless, but the 12% increased skill effect duration is not. And for 1 skill point, you know, you get around 4% extra damage. It's not a bad trade-off. And this one over here is because I'm lacking in mana, so that's why I took this mana reservation efficiency. Alright, then moving on. Well, we got some life here, obviously, the typical power charge nodes, and this is one where there might be some slight, like I said, some slight deviations between other Storm Burst Totem build users. I chose to go for Spectres. My build has 4 Spectres in total, and this is yeah, mandatory, I suppose. Alright, yeah, some more crits over here, some life, some more your normal totem totem nodes, and this one is very important to take. I'll explain that in a minute. Over here we have a damage penetration of lightning resistance and 5% increase, well, extra damage basically. And that is about it. Alright, so about the arcane surge. Well, the reason is because I have allocated this one, wood, stone and spell, which is actually very nice to have. Well, what it does, well, Arcane Surge gives us 20% increased cast speed and 30% increased mana generation rate. But my build uses 12 totems. Yep, 12. So that gives us a 120% increase effect of Arcane Surge in total. but because of these 3 extra nodes, which is another 20%, this is another 20%, and over here is let's see, 10% increase effect of Arcane Surge on you per 200 mana spent recently, up to 50%. We are basically, yeah, we're spamming totems all the time. Yeah, you will get at least 30 to 40% all the time. During bosses, you easily get 50%, no worries. And then over here, which is the Ascendancy, is Arcane Surge also grants 20% more spell damage to you. So, yep. So we have here 120% plus these 3 nodes. So let's say 50% here, 20% here, 20% here. Yep, that's 210% increased effect, which also grants us 210% times the 20% more spell damage. So that's a massive, massive boost to our damage. Alright, let's see. Moving on, we have a Conviction of Power, our charges, standard, basically, and obviously the totem nodes here. Well, 3% more damage per spell totems. We're using 12, so that's a 36% more spell damage in total. And some life regeneration and mana generation. Alright, that is our tree. Oh, nope, that is not our tree. I apologize. We have some more here. Alright, well, the 2 jewels here, the combination of Light of Meaning and the Unnatural Instinct. Yeah, it just gives us immense amount of extra damage. I chose this one, strength bonus. All strength damage bonus applies to all spell damage as well. It's a nice percentage, you know, 3-4%-ish, which is nice for 1 skill point. It's not a bad trade-off. You don't really have to take it, because if you look over here, we are quite, yeah, we have quite a lot of damage already. Don't take this. You know, it says a lot, but this is completely bullshit. This damage is when all your totems are up and the 4 spell totems have been casting for a while and they have, you know, they're 100% ramped up, then yes, this will be the damage, but that just doesn't happen, especially during mapping. But the damage is huge though. Alright, let's see then. So, we have some spell suppression over here because of these nodes on this side, along with this one. And that extra Spectre, we have a 100% spell suppression, which is nice to have. And I went down here for 2 extra jewel slots. So I got Harmony of Purpose with the Forbidden Flash and Forbidden Flame combination and my Watcher's Eye. So critical strikes penetrate 10% of elemental resistances by Zealotry. Damage penetrates 11% lightning resistance while affected by Wrath, and 30% chance to suppress spell damage while affected by Grace. Now, where do I get these auras from? Well, those are the auras that I get from my Spectres. Yay, extra damage and defensive layers for, well, not free, but minimum investment, basically. Alright, and that is the tree. Alright, moving on to our spell gems. So our Storm Burst or Storm Burst of Repulsion, either way is fine. Personally, I prefer Storm Burst, but recently I've been using Storm Burst of Repulsion during mapping, and the clear is infinitely better. And with the pretty high amount of damage, just go for the repulsion when you're mapping. And if you're gonna boss like Exarchs, Ubers, Pinnacles, whatever, go for Storm Burst. You'll have a lot more damage then. But let's move on. So Spell Totem, more duration, and I chose for physical to Lightning Gem. There's not really a reason, it just feels nicer to have. Damage wise, you could choose different ones such as lightning penetration over here. You could go for, where are you, let's see, you could go for this one as well. So let's see, 293 million give or take. Let's switch this one off and then go for lightning penetration, but you do have to switch this one then, and then physical, and take the physical conversion, and you'll be at, well, 280. So, you know, oh wait, no, this one, and let's see, let's do 30 because you'll be slotting here. So, you know, still 6 million less damage. Not too bad, you know. You could also go for the multi, which is roughly the same as penetration, so you're not really losing out on much DPS. But I like this one better. The exposure. Yes, lightning exposure comes from my minions and from my Spectre as well, so during mapping you don't really notice it, but during boss fights you do. Alright, so that is the Storm Burst setup. Over here, let's take it out. Alright, the Race Spectres and Animated Guardian. Yep, so with 21, level 21, plus 4. So we're in total of 25, which gives us 3 maximum Race Spirits, but on the tree we have selected the Race Spirit, Race Spectre node, which gives us a +1 for a total of 4 Spectres. Let's see, and the Spectres that I chose were, oh, they're not here, right, because for some reason my PoE doesn't allow, it allows me to select them, but they don't give me the bonus for only, it gives me only bonus for 1 Spectre. So what I did was I put them all in here. So let's have a look, shall we? So let's see. Like I said, the Watcher's Eye has the Grace aura, and now that'll give me the Spell Suppression. So that is what I have done here. So the Primal Bird plus Watcher's Eye gives me 12% Spell Suppression. Now the reason why I have it here is because I don't have the aura active. As you can see, I don't have the aura active, so I had to do it this way. But in game you do have the aura when the Thunderbird is nearby, so you will have your 12%. Was it 12%? Hold on. 13 actually, sorry. Let's change that, shall we? But anyways, I'm already maxed. Alright, then the, well, Primal Thunderbird gives us, let's see, well, not that much evasion, but it helps, you know, almost 2200 evasion rating and 30% more evasion rating, and they lightning exposure on hit, and it applies -20% to lightning resistance, which is the Screech attack that it has. Where there's a big cooldown on it, and you don't really notice it, like I said, during mapping, but during bosses you do. Right, the next one is Spirit of Fortune. Yeah, your damage with hits is lucky. It's not with hits, it's with lightning damage, and since we are lightning damage, our damage is basically always lucky. We get some extra additional lightning damage over here. Oh, this one. This is from the Wrath aura it provides, which is 18% more spell lightning damage. Great to have. The Pain Artist gives us a 30% more 30% critical strike multiplier and some critical strike chance, and 11% more spell damage from the Wrath aura. Zealotry aura. The Turtle gives us not that much. They nerfed it really hard, to be honest, but it does give us some additional armor and 44% more armor, which rounds up to about 10,000. In game I think it was 9,000. PoE is a bit weird here. Physical damage reduction is 90 in game, but it's not exactly 90. As you can see here, let's see, where are you? Damage reductions, where are you? Ah, here we go, over here. So we have a 16 base and 8% and 6% from our items, so a total of at least 30% physical damage reductions, and then because of our armor reduces also some bits and pieces of damage, but overall it's pretty good survivability. Right, so let's see then our Spectres. Right, moving on to our Animated Guardian. So yes, we do get Culling Strike when he's nearby, which is basically always. You and nearby allies have 50% to critical multiplier as well, and some increased damage from our Leer cast that he's equipped with, and an additional curse. It's from the boots that he's wearing, and the curse is enfeeble from the glove, which I'll go over later. Alright, well, I chose to go for a Lyra, a 50% to all elemental resistances, which is nice to have, you know, and that is it. Right, next up our skills is Arcanist Brand. I chose to have just these three. I manually summoned my Lightning Golem, and with Arcanist Brand I like to have Conductivity and Punishment, which is really nice once they're past low life, you really see a massive increase in damage. So if I would just uncheck this one, yeah, so that's like 50% increased damage. Well, 31% here, okay, 45%, okay, it's quite a lot of damage. What you could do is over here is Creeping Frost of Flows. Well, I need that with, I use this in combination with an item. I'll explain that one a bit later when I move over to the item sections. You could use that one with Arcanist Brand as well, but I like to have a bit more control. So yes, this is a button that I usually press during rares or uniques or boss fights. I don't like to have I like to have things automated, but not too much. I do like to have a bit of control. Alright, so that's why I have this, and as you can see, there's only 3 link sockets. Right, next one, automation. Right, Steel Skin, Convocation and Cooldown Recovery. Now previously in the previous league I didn't use this one, but ever since I've started using it, I've noticed a significant increase in using Convocation. So henceforth I will start using this one again in the next league as well, and I really recommend this one. But because of that, I am using a unset ring because I'm lacking spell slots, gem slots. So that's a bit of an issue, but it's not that big of an issue. You know, I lose a little bit of chaos resistance because of that, but it's not that bad. It's manageable. All right, so you could choose a different one here as well. I prefer Steel Skin. It has a great upkeep time actually, and the cooldown is also pretty fast. You could go for different guards, but I really like Steel Skin. It just helps a lot. Helps a lot more than all the other ones. Right, on to my aura. Excuse me. Alright, so as you can see, I've tested a few out as well, some other options you could go for later on. This is slotted in our shield, which has a socket reservation efficiency mod on it. So I chose for Vow Haste. You can sometimes, you know, use Vow Haste as well, which is nice. Gives us quite a lot of boost in cast speed, and that equals to more damage basically. We have Purity of Elements. Our elemental resistances are a little bit tricky to, you know, get to 75 at least without it. It's doable, but you'd have to invest into it a bit more and lose out on some other stuffs that I don't want to lose out, so I chose to have this one. And you know, I get immune to all elemental ailments, which is just massive. It's great to have. And Flash of Stones. Now this is a personal thing. I like to have this one because it's you know, anyone who's in my aura basically or nearby deals 20% less damage. But you know, the idea is to make sure that no one gets close, but sometimes it happens, and you know, I like to have a bit more security in that. But what you could do, however, is yeah, you could either go for Tempest Shield, which gives you a bit of, you know, 26% spell block. It's not that much, it does help, but we're already suppress capped, so you know, you don't really need it. Petrified Blood is nice. PoE says, you know, as you can see, it offers quite a lot of you know, effective health pool. but our regeneration is basically our life flask. And having it tested it out, I don't like it. I just kept dying. Not kept dying. I died more often than with Flesh and Stone. So that's why I chose Flesh and Stone. You could go for either of these two if you want more damage, for instance. You could go for Herald of Purity. Yeah, offers 37 million extra damage, or increased damage. But overall, you don't really need more damage. I prefer to have a bit more defensive layers. Another thing is Purity of Fire. Mainly because of the skills that we use, Righteous Fire for Arcane Devotion, which, well, we are in the plus most of the time because of our totems and life regeneration rate from that. But it does help. One of our items also have 10% physical damage taken as fire, so higher fire resistance means less physical damage taken, basically. But again, I prefer to have Flesh and Stone. Alright, so next off is this one. It's in the wand, Righteous Fire of Arcane Devotion. You could go for the normal Righteous Fire. It provides more damage than Arcane Devotion, as you can see over here. So basically, yeah, 41% increase in damage. So we're at 331 million. It's quite a lot. Or we could go for the normal one, which, well, Arcane Devotion, which gives us roughly 24.6% increased damage. Yeah, like I said, more damage is always nice. However, with Storm Burst Totems, you want more cast speed. You want higher amounts of cast speed. It just makes everything feel a lot better, feel smoother gameplay. The clear would also be a lot better. Is also a lot better with a higher cast speed. So definitely take this one over Righteous Fire. Right, well, Frostblink of Wintry Blast. We have a high amount of cast speed, so you'll be warping around. Not as crazy high that you don't really have any control over it, but high enough to just warp around the map pretty fast. Previously I also mentioned Creeping Frost of Flows, if I say this correctly. I'm not native English speaker, so apologies for that. I'll explain that later in the item section why I chose this one. But notice the 5 chilling areas, that one is key. And the Unset Ring with our Searing Bonds, which gives us 8 extra summoned totems for a total of 12 totems. Alright, and the AG and Feeble Curse, so gives us a little bit of more defensive layers. Again, in mapping you don't really notice it because everything just dies before it even reaches, or before the AG even reaches enemies. So, but during bosses it's nice to have. Alright. Moving on to our equipments. So first is the wand. Nice amount of cast speed, a large amount of spell damage, spells, critical strike chance, multiplier. You don't really need the mana, but it's nice to have. And the level of all spell skill gems mod is definitely required, because that also increases the Spectres. The Spectre gem, and since we don't have an empowered level 4, you do need this one, otherwise you will not be able to get 4 Spectres. Next up is our shield. Let's see then. So mandatory is the number of summoned totems +1 and socketed gems, at 30% increased reservation efficiency. Anything other than that is up to you. I prefer to have a higher chance to block. This is not a high roll. I think this is a T3 roll. It goes all the way up to 70%, I believe. I have some extra nice maximum life, and I chose to have a additional physical damage reduction. Simply because it's a nice amount of physical damage mitigation. You could go for other things as well if you'd like. I prefer to have a bit more defensive layers, I guess. Right, this helmet is very expensive. Personal note is I did not make this one. I am not a crafter. I have 0 luck, like literally 0 luck. So I just buy it. I think this one was 40 divs, 40 divines. Usually they're around that price tag, sometimes a bit higher to the 60 divine range. Depends a bit on the extra mods that you have, for instance maximum life. Usually they craft the AoE gem as well, but because I want to cap my spell suppression chance, I had to choose, or I had to craft evasion rating on it, so that all my armor, my helmet, my body armor, boots and glove have evasion rating, which gives me an extra 15% chance spell suppression, which is nice. Alright, if you don't need it, then just craft the AoE gem on it, +1, and you'll have a bit more extra damage. I think 20, that would give us around 20 million extra damage, maybe 25. But, you know, our damage is already quite high, so I don't really need more damage. Like I said, I prefer a bit more defensive play. Alright, next one is our body armor. Let's see. Alright, well, first off is the the implicits. So we chose the spell critical strike multiplier for spell damage and 10% physical damage mitigation. Then spell suppression damage, which is nice. So get this as high as possible. I think this is T1, but not the highest roll. But overall, I think 22% is the highest roll. You could get it, but that one was a bit more well, there wasn't any on the market, mind you, so yeah, I bought this one too. I don't craft at all, basically. Then we have some armor and evasion rating. Yeah, try to get this one as high as well. You could go up to, I think, 3,000, but those are very pricey. 2400 ratings. It's pretty average. And you'll pay around 10, not 10, 20 divs, around 20 divs. Oh, this one had some lightning resistance. Some have life. I don't like the life, the maximum life, because I have this one selected over here. 15% increased maximum life. Now you don't really need that one, but if you do go for maximum life, do get around 180. So the 15% increased maximum life is in this build around 180, 90 maximum life. So if you don't have it on the armor, get that node. Otherwise, take it on your body armor. I did prefer chance to block attack damage and some extra physical damage mitigation. And like I said, my resistances are a bit difficult to cap, which is why this one has a lightning resistance on it. Alright, well, in the skill gem selection, I already spoke about the creeping frost of flows, and this is the reason why I have it. So first, some extra nice amount of spells critical strike chance. You know, the average, I've seen 0.5 up to 0.75, so this is a very nice roll. Now the second implicit is maximum cold resistances. There are some other implicits that you could use. Many of them have, let's see, the curse on hit. Don't take those, you already have 3 curses you can't take anymore, so if you do, you override a curse, so don't do that. Try to get something like defensive if you want. There are some other options, more offensive ones, but like I said, I don't need more damage. I prefer more defensive anywhere that I can get now at this point, so I chose to have a bit more maximum cold resistance. Then moving on to the middle part, so 29% chance to sap enemies in chilling areas. Again, during mapping you don't really need it. Maybe during a rare that has annoying mods, a unique monster or a boss, you would use the creeping frost. and they'll get sapped. And the average is around 10 to 14, 15, 16 on the higher end. But just take my average for it is 10, which is nice. So that's another way to lower the damage that they do. So higher defensive layer. Then the other part is enemies in your chilling area take a 25% increased lightning damage. This goes all the way up to 35%. So yeah, this is the lowest roll, but overall it's not bad. It's a nice amount of extra damage to have. And then this one, and that's where the variety also comes into play. You know, everyone has their own build. I chose to go for this one. Also, this one has evasion rating as well. Alright, the boots, nothing in particular. So Searing Exarch and World Eater modifiers is a maximum fire resistance and some extra cooldown rate. You don't need the cooldown rate, but you know, it's nice to have. You could go for something else as well. You know, get some nice amount of life. Definitely get 35% movement speed. That's sort of like mandatory. The evasion rating and stun and block recovery is not needed. If you make it yourself, you know, go for something else. If not, you know, just buy it and get it. It's not that bad. You don't really need any of those mods, but you do need your resistances and your spell suppression, so get those as high as possible. Right, Ashes is mandatory basically at this point in for Storm Burst Totems, because it just adds a massive amount of damage through the quality. And I have allocated Wood, Stone and Spell, as I said before, in the tree area. It gives us a massive amount of increased Arcane Surge effect, so that in turn increases our damage by a lot. Right, so next is our Amethyst ring. You could, like I said, I have 2 rings, 1 Amethyst and 1 Unset. The reason for the Unset ring is the socket. I need that one for the Searing Bond totems, because I don't have room. I'm starving for sockets, so that's why I chose this one. If you're not starved for sockets and you can slot the Searing Bond elsewhere, then just take another Amethyst ring. Right, well, this one, let's see, we have some strength and dex with 20% quality. Yeah, you definitely need that, because you will not be reaching the necessary stats without it, so definitely get at least 50 plus at strength and dex. Some increased in cast speed, which is nice to have, not mandatory, but it does give a nice amount of extra damage. Some life, you don't need the mana, and another modifiers that you want. Anything is fine, to be honest. I just chose some extra damage here. I could go for something else too, but at this point it really doesn't matter. There's nothing that I want. Let's see. Alright, the Unset ring. Again, some extra dex. I did go for intelligence on this one, specifically because of the profane wand. I did not have enough intelligence actually to equip it, so that's why I chose some extra intelligence here. If you do manage to get enough intelligence, then you know, take the extra strength or different suffix. But overall this works for me. Again, some extra cast speed, some maximum life. I did try some experiment here, which is the Shaper mod of gain life per enemy hit with spells. Supposedly, according to Google, it does work, but it doesn't. So don't get fooled. But I just tried it, and should I get a different ring, I could sell this one because it's a nice roll. Alright, the last one. This is another my own variety, I guess. Perhaps, you know, other players also have this, so it's not my own, but I like this belt. In the previous league I chose a different belt with, well, not different, string of servitude, the same belt, but with a different modifier. So definitely get the increased skill effect duration as high as possible. 45% is the highest that you can get, so 15% actually, but it's tripled. It doesn't say it here, but all the the implicit modifiers on this belt are tripled basically, so 15% becomes 45%. And in the previous league I went with cast speed during any effect, so increased cast speed, and that was quite nice. It boosts your attack speed quite a lot. but this leak I could not find it on the market, and after a couple days I just bought this one with the critical strike multiplier, which is also very nice. It actually is damage wise, the critical strike multiplier is higher. It has, I think, 10-15 million extra damage in comparison to the cast speed modifier on it. Alright then, moving on to our flasks. Nothing in particular. I do like a faster regeneration, so that's why I took the Eternal Life Flask. The modifier gives me life recovery to minion as well. Sometimes I do notice that they get damaged a bit, so this helps keep them alive just in case. It's not really mandatory. The animated guardian rarely dies anymore after you've set it up, but sometimes Spectres do die during mapping, and it's a loss in damage and overall just in performance, so why not just get some extra life recovery to your minions? It hurts no one, you know. Alright, Quicksilver, definitely needed. Some extra movement speed is always nice. I chose the evasion rating during effect, or the over here some extra maximum life, maximum fire resistance, always nice to have. And with the increased armor modifier, diamond flasks is not mandatory, but definitely try to fit it in, as this offers quite a lot of critical strike chance or spell chance. Right, and then the last one is the amethyst flask for your chaos resistance. So once it's active, you are in the plus, so that's a nice thing to have. And just in case, I chose the avoid being stunned during effect. You know, sometimes I still die and I can't teleport away because I get stunned. And with this, it mitigates it just a little bit. Because what's it called? Frostblink is not instant. Well, Frostblink is, but the version that I have, the Frostblink of Wintry Blast, is not. It's depending on your cast speed, and my cast speed is high, but not instantaneous. So that's why you want to mitigate being stunned just in case. Alright, items. Again, the Natural Instinct together with the Light of Meaning just offers a massive amount of damage. So definitely take these two. The Impossible Escape with the Chaos Inoculation allocation on the tree. Again, this over here, skill effect duration, the extra mana reservation, and an extra or additional curse. It's nice to have. Alright, then the Watcher's Eye with well, critical strike penetration, damage penetration, and spell suppression. Now these three auras I don't have them. I get them from my Spectres, which is nice. That's why I have this one. It's extra defenses and damage. Alright then, two Forbidden Flash and Flame. There are some options you could choose as well. Now I chose the Harmony of Purpose for random shrine buff, so I basically have two shrine buffs up all the time. And they vary, but I think every map I at least get a very good one, such as Acceleration, Massive Shrine, or even Divine. I've noticed that one as well, so one of these. So at least two of these are always active. The ones that I do notice is the Massive Shrine and the Acceleration. You know, if you have it, you just move at crazy speeds. You notice immediately. The Diamond doesn't really do much, but most of these are either damage or defensive layers again, or defensive measurements. And yeah, it's just nice to have. Now once you get this one, the Echoing Shrine though, ooh, your damage skyrockets and everything just dies. Once you have it, you'll notice immediately, because once I have it too, my frame rate just drops by a lot. And I just have to decast or recast my totems just to make them stop casting, because it just kills my frame rate. And a Timeless Jewel, which is also a very nice jewel. You could go for different modifiers. I prefer the non-curse aura and totem. You could go for channeling, increased channeling damage, or elemental damage per 10 devotion as well. Gives us a bit more damage, but the increased effect of non-curse auras, gives us a bit more defenses actually. So I chose that one instead. But whatever rocks your boat, I guess. Alright, that is it for the items. Let's move on to the animated guardian real quickly. So Kingmaker over here. So some extra multiplier, Culling Strike and Fortification, 10 Fortification, which is nice to have. Leercast gives us 50% increased damage. The Garb of Ephemeral, if I say correctly. Yeah, so nearby enemies cannot deal critical strikes, which is massive. It's pricey, but definitely worth it, so get that. And nearby allies' action speed cannot be modified to below base value, so basically chill does nothing, if you will. So that's also nice to have. Over here, get any glove with cursed enemies on hit. I chose Enfeeble because that's another defensive layer. During mapping you don't really notice it, but boss fights you do. You do see that the boss has 3 curses on them, and the windscreen for that additional curse, so that's why we have 3 curses. And that is it for the items. Last but not least, let's go over the configuration quickly. Let's start over here. So we have some 5 power charges. For endurance charges we got Arcane Surge fortified at 10 from our from our animated guardian. We have 12 maximum totems, so yes, again a little bit inflated. Only during bosses you basically summon 8 Searing Totems and 4 Storm Burst Totems. During mapping you really don't. You get maybe 6, and then you're out of reach of the Searings, and then you resummon it, etc, etc. So, but let's just keep it at 12 to inflate the numbers. Alright, so over here, 1000, definitely you easily reach this with totem spamming. So that is not that's not difficult to reach. Alright, so active brands, yes, 3, exposure, yes, sand stands from your aura. Alright, let's see what we do get if we select this one. Not bad at all. 80, almost 80 million on Uber. It's not bad. Again, you won't reach this because your totems will probably die during Ubers. I don't think I've recorded Ubers yet. I rarely do Ubers actually, but I will someday. So let's just switch that back. Okay, so yeah, enemies on low life from our curse. So if we remove that, it's quite a lot of damage loss actually if we unclick it. So yeah, definitely use that one curse. Enemies are chilled. Yeah, just leave it at 10 everything. For what I've seen, bosses get about 15 to 20 shock and sap around 15, but I would like to keep it at 10 just to get a nice even number. And enemies are in chilling areas, definitely, because we'll be casting frost, creeping frost quite a lot, especially when there's a rare or unique or boss, and that also adds quite a lot of damage, as you can see. The mods over here are from our turtles, not from our turtles, from our specters. So they all also offer quite a lot of damage and defensive stuff. Alright, last one is 25% less damage taken, which is from our Atlas tree. I have selected that specific node just in case, because why not? They get 50% more life, but I don't even notice it at all, that 50% increased life, even with modifiers on the map itself with increased life or more life. I do not notice it at all. Everything just dies quickly. Alright, and that is it